For over a century, one question about Stonehenge refused to go away. How did massive stones end up at this remote patch of English countryside, hundreds of miles from where they were originally formed? Scientists have now found an answer, and it confirms something almost too ambitious to believe about the people who built it. Stonehenge is not made of one type of stone. The largest sarsen stones came from relatively nearby quarries, but the smaller blue stones, along with the massive 6-ton altar stone at the monument's center, came from far greater distances. The altar stone in particular was eventually traced back to Scotland, hundreds of miles north of the site, a discovery that stunned researchers when it was first confirmed years ago. That earlier finding alone rewrote assumptions about ancient trade and travel, since it meant Neolithic Britain was far more interconnected than anyone had given it credit for. The question that remained was how those stones actually made the journey south. For decades, one theory offered a convenient shortcut. Perhaps ancient glaciers moving slowly across Britain thousands of years before Stonehenge was ever built had carried the stones most of the way on their own, leaving Neolithic builders with a far shorter, far more plausible haul to finish by hand. That theory mattered because it changed the entire story of who built Stonehenge and how capable they actually were. If glaciers did the heavy lifting, the monument becomes a story about people taking advantage of a lucky geological accident, arriving at stones that were already mostly in place, needing only the final push into position. If humans moved the stones the entire distance themselves, using nothing but rope, wood, and raw coordinated effort, the story becomes something else entirely, evidence of an organized society capable of extraordinary long-distance planning thousands of years before anything resembling modern engineering existed. The two theories were not just about geology. They were about how much credit ancient humans actually deserved, and how much of their achievement modern observers had quietly been handing over to nature instead. To settle the debate, researchers at Curtin University turned to a mineral called zircon, one of the toughest substances on Earth and a kind of geological time capsule. Zircon grains preserve a chemical record of where they originated and what they experienced over millions of years, making them ideal for tracing the movement of rock and sediment across ancient landscapes long after the original event occurred. If glaciers had truly carried stones from Scotland or Wales all the way to the Stonehenge area, they would have left behind a very specific mineral signature, ground-down fragments scattered across the region, as the ice slowly melted and retreated over thousands of years, depositing debris far beyond where the ice itself eventually stopped. The team examined more than 500 zircon crystals collected from river sediments near Salisbury Plain, the site where Stonehenge stands. If the glacial theory were correct, this sediment should have been full of telltale mineral traces carried down from the north, evidence baked into the landscape itself. Instead, the researchers found nothing. No matching zircon signature, no evidence that glacial ice had ever reached far enough to deposit rock from Scotland or Wales anywhere near the monument. The convenient shortcut theory had no physical evidence to support it. Anywhere the researchers looked, no matter how closely they examined the data or how many samples they cross-checked against each other. That absence is not a small detail. It reshapes the entire narrative of how Stonehenge came to exist. Without glacial transport as an explanation, the only remaining possibility is direct human effort. An ancient society moving multi-ton stones across hundreds of miles of difficult terrain using nothing but manpower, timber, and rope. This was not a short haul assisted by nature. This was a monumental logistical undertaking, one requiring coordination across communities, sustained effort over what may have been months or even years, and a level of shared purpose that most people never associate with prehistoric societies. Scattered across a landscape with no writing system to organize them, no central government, and no guarantee that neighboring groups would even cooperate. Picture what that journey actually would have required. Teams of people hauling stones across rivers, hills, and uneven ground, likely using sledges and log rollers, feeding and organizing enough laborers to keep the effort moving for the full distance without losing momentum. There would have been no modern tools, no draft animals suited to the task, no maps in the way we understand them today. Just human will applied at a scale historians are only now beginning to fully appreciate, coordinated across what may have been dozens of separate communities working toward one shared goal, likely passing knowledge of the route and the method down through generations if the project spanned that long, refining the technique with each attempt. This finding fits into a growing pattern in archaeology, where deeper investigation keeps revealing that ancient people were far more capable, organized, and intentional than earlier generations of researchers assumed them to be. Structures once explained away as lucky accidents of geology or convenient natural transport keep turning out to be the product of deliberate human decision-making instead. The pyramids, Göbekli Tepe, and now Stonehenge all share this same pattern, discoveries that initially seemed to require some kind of external shortcut, only for the evidence to eventually confirm that human ambition alone was the actual explanation the whole time. Stonehenge was never simply found in a convenient location, waiting to be assembled. Its very existence represents a choice made by people who wanted these specific stones in this specific place badly enough to move mountains, quite literally, to make it happen. The monument still stands today as one of the most visited archaeological sites on the planet, but this new evidence adds an entirely different layer of meaning to every photograph taken there. Every stone at that site is not simply a rock. It is proof of a decision made thousands of years ago, and the sheer physical effort required to see that decision through to the end, without the benefit of a single tool we would recognize today, and without any certainty that the effort would even succeed. What do you think would have convinced an entire ancient community to commit to a project this massive? Drop your theory in the comments, like this video if ancient engineering mysteries like this fascinate you, and subscribe for more mysteries history has never fully explained.